gentleman is called Rene Savelsberg of Chrysalix SET.
Thank you.
Welcome to Ecosummit.
Thanks. Well, I'm fully aware that I'm between your morning session and the coffee, so I'll make sure that my 8 minutes that I have will not be surpassed by me, at least. I was asked to talk about the future-proof Cleantech investment strategy, and I was encouraged yesterday by the first presentation that said basically, the future-proof is that we have to just accept that there is cycles. We go through these cycles as well, so why worry? Even if today we got confronted with a more pessimistic Bart who said that basically you shouldn't be in this because we are on the bottom of the cycle. On the other hand, I also think that since Cleantech is a theme and not an industry, we have to be selective in what we are doing in the Cleantech sector. So as a venture fund, you have to focus, and I think in that respect, what the EIF yesterday said is that you as a manager of a fund should focus on areas that you really are aware of investing, and I think is a very valid point. The fact that you can invest, that you know the trick of investing, doesn't mean that you can do that in every sector that needs money. And therefore, I think a lot of venture capital firms have run into problems where they were in the traditional VC industry, moved that to some parts of the Cleantech sector, failed, and now say it's dead. I disagree with that. I'm an optimist, but also I think it is real to say that there is a lot of opportunities in this area. So let me illustrate with what we do as a venture capital firm, a little bit background on where we're coming from, and I'll round up with the conclusion. We were founded in 2007. We're based in Amsterdam. We invest throughout Europe. That is our focus. We don't go beyond the European community. We had a first fund that was 40 million, that's fully allocated. We are now raising our second fund. We hope to go up to 100 million. We are currently at 20 million, which is what I've learned to be a wet commitment. That means that we can invest from that commitment already while we are still fundraising. So we are in the middle of this, this turbulent situation where we want to raise money ourselves, while the results of the industry don't really show great promise. So how do we go about that? Well, what we have decided is that, instead of thinking about Cleantech as a total sector, we basically are a technology investor. Let's face it, we all are technology investors, but that is the basis of what we are doing. The only caveat that we attach to all the technologies that we're looking at is that they should have an impact on energy, on the energy mix going forward. That is what we are all about, and that is the kind of technologies we get excited about. Then the stage at which we invest is still early growth, we call it. That is a kind of a mix between the growth stage and the early stage. But what it actually means is that we don't care whether a company already exists for 10 years, trying to figure out what to do in this sector, but now is at the point at which the growth really has to be accelerated, and take that risk that is coming up. So we're not moving to late stage, which we have heard quite a few venture capital firms are doing. We stick to that point where that this inflection point is happening, and that is basically where we put the most of the risks in, as I'm concerned, because making that happen, timing that well, is obviously the name of the game. We look at innovations, obviously. We look at capital-efficient business models. So we have not invested, albeit with one exception, in heavy capital-intensive activities where you need to build a plant of 25 million to just prove what you have done. So we are focusing on capital-efficient areas. Then look at our portfolio, and I'll come back to that in a second. You see all kinds of technologies popping up there. Software platforms, services delivery, technology licensing, engineering, obviously, but also material science and pure product delivery is part of what the business models are that we are ultimately investing in. But we look at this whole area. Just to illustrate that, what I want to add to that is that if you look at technology, you cannot be a local for local investor. Meaning that if you find the best company in Berlin to invest in, in a certain area, you might have a good investment, but you have to put it in perspective what is happening in the rest of the world in that same technology area. And the way we have solved that is to be part of a global network, which is called the Chrysalix Global Networks, where we have independent funds. I want to stress that we are independent funds, one based in Vancouver, it's called Chrysalix Energy Venture Capital, one based in Shanghai, which is GRC Chrysalix, and focusing completely on the Chinese market, and Chrysalix SET focusing on the European market only. And with that global network that we have developed, we can test very quickly whether an opportunity that we see in Europe is ahead, matching, or behind developments in other parts of the world. So we make smarter decisions on where we invest in the end. And reversely, when we have a portfolio company that wants to reach out to the other areas, we have trusted parties through which we can make that happen for those companies. So be global, but act local. Yeah? And that area is what we need to be covered by venture funds. To give you some examples of our portfolio companies that we have invested in, one example is AlertMe. It's a UK-based company in the software as a services business for residentials. They basically do smart home activities, connecting your home to the internet and bring all kinds of services to that platform, most notably energy management, but also security, and even e-health is the future of what they provide. But connecting the home to the network is what they're doing. EnOcean is a company that is also in that same kind of value chain, but more on the chip side, with a chip solution, a module solution that through energy harvesting allows you to do building automation in a very effective way without using any batteries. So the cost of operation of a network of sensors is becoming very, very attractive. Epyon is a nice example of a company that we have exited in 2011. It is a charging company. They made charge poles. So if you look at the hardware, you think, holy shit, that everybody can do that. Who cannot make a charging pole? But they made a very fast one. So within 15 minutes, you can charge an electric car to 80–90% of its capacity. That's a breakthrough. But in itself, that wasn't even enough to make the company attractive for ABB to acquire it. What they were really looking for was the connectivity of that charging pole to the car, to the internet, and to the service providers that work there. And it was that software layer on top of the charging infrastructure that made the company excited. So look at the charging pole not as a power converter, but look at it as a connected device to the internet on which customers are served in a better way. Microshade is a company that is a Danish company that has a shading solution that is integrated into glass. And we have actually, and I use it as an example where we had to change some of the thinking around this company, which is a single solution company. It's a materials company, basically. They put a film in between double glazing, allowing then the sun not to enter into the room. Hence, you need less cooling, and you don't have any glare on your computer screen, and your working environment is much better. We recruited for this company a veteran out of the glazing industry, somebody who understands that business left and right. And it was very apparent that we thought that this was the guy to bring this company to life. Actually, him acting in the same way as that building industry has worked for years was not successful in making this company actually come off the ground. So late last year, we changed our strategy and we hired somebody out of the IT industry. Somebody who looked completely different at this product and says, this is a value cell, not a replacement cell. We replace outside shading to something that is now in between glass. We're going for the value proposition. And he is changing the company towards thinking about online sales, effective tools to promote the company to the audiences that need to adapt this, and therefore rejuvenate the way building products are sold. Finally, we have Sefaira, and obviously I was very happy that yesterday Sefaira was the company that got the jury award for the best company in the list that was presented here. And Sefaira is a company that basically builds on from what we have learned with Microshade. Microshade, a single product going into the architectural building environment, whereas Sefaira is offering architects a tool, a software tool, via a plugin to, while they design a building, know exactly what the energy consumption will be of that same product. on that same building. So every iteration of other glazing, other insulation, moving the building 3 degrees so the sun will shine differently on that building has a direct impact on the energy consumption at the end. And knowing that from the start of the design of a building will make it an incredible impact on how buildings are ultimately going to be used more efficiently from an energy perspective. So breaking into that value chain there with a tool that adds to the design of buildings is something that is very crucial. And a microshade product can fit right in there because the microshade characteristics can be put in the Sefaira solution, and therefore architects will see what a microshade solution will mean for the building they are designing. Yeah? So here you see how IT and software and services combine this in the Cleantech sector. We have a new kid on the block that I briefly want to talk about, and that is LUXeXcel. It's a 3D printing company that we invested in just last week. And then you say 3D printing in Cleantech. Yeah, it fits the energy paradigm because this company can print optical components through what we call additive manufacturing. And it reduces the energy by 50% and also reduces materials by up to 90%. Because they make optical products that go into LED lightings and therefore can be far more iteratively designed, smaller series, more effective and lower costs all the time. In the light of time, I will not talk too much about how the technology works, but in conclusion, I think if you look at Cleantech, we should ask ourselves the same thing we ask our portfolio companies when they have a platform that can do everything. Managers of companies, of venture capital firms, they can do investments. They can do it everywhere. They know the trick. But it's about the focus that you take and where in the Cleantech scene are you going to put your money. And I think that is important. We have chosen to do technologies that impact the energy sector, and we combine that with the global knowledge. And that combination, I think, is a safeguard for going forward in this exciting industry that is not dead, but coffee is there.